Christopher Columbus is known to every school child as the discoverer of America, though to the people already living here it may have come as a surprise to hear that they were lost and needed to be discovered. We even remember the year of the so-called discovery, 1492, which, along with 1776 and the year of our own birth, is probably about the only year that sticks in our memory. What we might not remember is that Columbus made 3 more voyages to what Europeans ridiculously had begun to call the New World. His final voyage was plagued with disaster. After losing 2 of his ships, he finally was forced to beach the other 2 on the island we now know as Jamaica. Not a bad place to find yourself beached. At first, the native Arawak people living there were quite hospitable, giving food and shelter to the poor castaways. But then, as always happens when guests stay too long and wear out their welcome, tensions began to grow. Have you ever felt this way when in-laws come? Columbus and his crew had been taking advantage of the people for over half a year. Some of the crew began stealing and even murdering their hosts, and the Arawak people were growing tired of these barbaric freeloaders and told Columbus they would no longer be able to feed them. Whatever else he was, Christopher Columbus was a clever man with tricks up his sleeve. He read in his almanac that there was a total eclipse of the moon coming up on Thursday, February 29th, 1504. This set him to thinking, and he came up with a devious plan. 3 days before the eclipse, Columbus told the Arawak chief that the Christian God was very angry with the Arawak people for no longer providing food for the Europeans. As a sign of his anger, the Christian God was planning to wipe out the moon in 3 days, leaving it inflamed with wrath to show the Arawaks that he was about to inflict all sorts of evils upon them. Sure enough, at the time predicted, the people looked up in fear as they saw that their moon was being eaten away, just as Columbus had said. They became hysterical as the moon then became inflamed with the blood of wrath, so that the normally brilliant winter full moon was replaced with a fiery red ball, the blood moon. Surely this was an ominous portent of things to come. The poor people were so terrified that they came screaming and running to the ships with all the food they had, begging Columbus to ask his God to spare them. Panicking, they promised to do anything for the Europeans if only the moon would be restored. Knowing that he now had complete control over them, Columbus continued in his deception, telling them he would have to go into his cabin and speak privately with his God. He was timing the eclipse according to the information the astronomers had provided in the almanac. Just before the end of the total phase of the eclipse, Columbus returned and told the people that his God had forgiven them and would now bring back the moon. At that very moment, of course, the earth's shadow began to roll away, and the moon reappeared, just as Columbus knew it would. The poor people were so grateful to the deceptive admiral that they bent over backwards to keep him and his men well fed and well taken care of until the following November, when Columbus and his crew finally went back to Europe, where they belonged. From time immemorial, people have been terrified by the ordinary and extraordinary occurrences in the heavens, beautiful, colorful, exciting phenomena which should be regarded with delight and wonderment, but which human beings instead insist on seeing as ominous signs of a vengeful, wrathful, angry God. For so many, religion has become an instrument of fear, eliciting terror in human hearts rather than the love it was meant to inspire. Columbus was neither the first nor the last wily charlatan to use religion or science or a deceitful combination of both to achieve his own ends. Most of the wars and most of the ills of history can be traced to the same. And no particular religion has had a monopoly on this perverted desire to control through terror. In the power struggle known as human history, most often religion has been synonymous with terror, and it has made very little difference which religion happened to be in control at the time. Sadistic, angry gods hurling lightning bolts, sending plagues, demanding sacrifice, ordering wars, threatening destruction. Is this what inspires the human soul to union with such a God? We are doing a fine job ourselves destroying our planet. We don't really need to blame God. How different, as always, is the message of the Christ. It is not a message of thou shalt not, but rather blessed are those. It is not an excommunication, but an invitation. Not a wagging finger, but a tender embrace. Not a call to fear, but a call to love. The signs of which he speaks are not to frighten us, but to bring us the comforting message, I am near. Those days will indeed come when the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from the sky. But let us gaze up not with fear, but with wonder, admiration, and awe at these magnificent eclipses and falling stars of the night sky. Let us see in these splendors not weapons of mass destruction in the hands of an angry God, but the awesome majesty of the universe of which we are a part, the infinite power of love to which we are called, the boundless beauty of a divine imagination creative enough to hold a star and a soul, and patient enough to keep holding that soul even if the stars should fall. For a God who is capable of blinking the lights of the sky is capable of loving even you and me. But of that day or hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven, nor the Son, nor even Christopher Columbus, but only the Father of stars and souls, the Father of the world above and the world within, the loving Father of you and